Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Gene. This is my good buddy Sam. You are watching NHL Aftermath for November the 24th, 2023. This is episode number 20. We've been away for a few weeks as our last episode was on the 4th, actually, Sammy.
Oh,
Uh,
crazy.
yeah, it's been a while, been a bit hectic. A lot going on. By the way, hello to US as I'm just having some graphic issues here as they are celebrating US Thanksgiving. So congratulations to that. It's also a marking stone in the NHL. And it's usually kind of a point of where you can see who's doing what, who's likely to make the playoffs. I think they spit it out at something like 87% of the teams that are in the playoffs at that point in time usually make the playoffs, and the guys on the outside do not. So we're going to get into an in-depth discussion with two of our favorite teams, my favorite team and your favorite team, and the switch that happened this year
hmm
with them. We're also going to get into the whole story with Milan Lucic, what's going on there. We're going to try to dive in a little bit about that. What you been up to, man?
Not much, just working like crazy. Back at the old warehouse grind. Just giving her. Been working hard and long hours and long busy physical days. So
Yeah, me too. I've been working a fair bit. I'm actually pretty well ahead, actually, with compared to where everyone else is. But I also have a helper that helps me a lot on the machine that I operate. So we're about a week ahead right now from everyone else. So it's kind of a good feeling. But with my job, it kind of just all of a sudden next day you're from a week ahead, you're not ahead at all. You're like behind.
right,
So it
right,
kind of
for
it,
sure.
it shuffles, right? Because they'll switch jobs over. We're working on a lot of the downtown projects like the Bertram Street project and Water Street project, and we're building some women support housing thing. So there's a lot of
Right.
stuff that we are working on, and that's good. It's good. It's wintertime. It's beautiful, which
hmm
is like amazing. It's mid-November and like spring-like weather out here in Lake Country, Vernon. I don't know I imagine Kelowna is about the same.
Pretty much the same, man. Absolutely, pretty much the same. Yeah, I mean, for it to be, what is it, the 24th of November today? We're at the end of November, a week away from the end of the month, and for it to be the temperature that it is and the nice it is, we haven't seen snow yet. It's pretty nice.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I saw as I was coming home, and I was just over by Predator Ridge, not quite in Vernon, but by Predator Ridge. I was coming home one day, and there was some
Right.
snowfall, but that's
Okay.
well, obviously the Coca-Cola has seen it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And if
But
you
in
look at
terms of like snow sticking on the ground in the
yeah,
city, there's
yeah,
been nothing.
yeah.
Nothing.
So I'm absolutely amazed. Okay, Sammy, let's get into this. We know that you have your Canucks game, and there's a lot to discuss on this episode of NHL Aftermath. We've been away for a while, so we're not going to really get into stuff that happened about 2 weeks ago. So let's get into this. As we're going to just start off with the rundown, and the first thing we're going to talk about is kind of the notes of the day and just some of the topics that came up. Samuel Girard of the Colorado Avalanche has entered the
Player assistance program.
player assistance program, and he has taken an indefinite leave of absence from the team. Uh, yeah, it's tough. You begin to wonder, these guys make so much money, and you begin to wonder if they make too much money because they end up doing a lot of stuff that but then again, there's people that don't make that kind of money and have issues too. So
Yeah. I was gonna say I don't think the money aspect is the money they make might just make it easier for them to have access to alcohol or drugs or whatever. But if you have that severe anxiety and mental health issues, you're gonna find your avenues to dismiss that and numb that as much as you can,
True.
regardless.
True. I mean, we all know too well because of where we live. We've seen you, especially in Kelowna, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people that are homeless but still manage to get their fix, right? So,
Yep. 100%.
oh yeah, it is unfortunate of people having to deal with that and deal with the anxieties. There's probably a lot of pressures that go with their job, but you know what? There's a lot of pressures that go with a surgeon's job too, right? So,
There's pressure for any job.
yeah.
It's just different
So,
kinds of pressure.
yeah, so it's unfortunate. Hopefully, I wish him well. I wish him the best, and hopefully, we see him return to the NHL shortly. Also, today in the Oilers game, which they actually did a fantastic job, Skinner getting his first shutout of the season with a 5-0 victory over the Washington Capitals. Still hasn't changed my mind on Lube. I still don't think they are making the playoffs this year. I think I said this on the channel. I have not lost belief in the team. I have lost belief in this season. I don't see them coming back and bouncing back. It's going to be, and we're going to get into that shortly on the topic of a tale of two cities, which is going to be right next. But yeah, a good win for him. But unfortunately, TJ Oshie took a pretty good hit. It was a mid-ice collision with Ekholm. And it looked pretty innocent. Like I watched the replay, it looked pretty innocent, but it was enough to keep them down on the ice. And then they were waving over the paramedics. So I want to get a little bit more detail. It's unfortunate about him because I do like TJ Oshie. I think he's a real
Mm-hmm.
class actor.
Yeah,
When
he
he
is.
won that when he won that Stanley Cup and how he was like, just emotional over his father and that. Like I've always liked TJ Oshie. I'd love to see him as an Oiler. Did you hear about that news or no? Or is that
No, I didn't see anything about that. No.
yeah, it was unfortunate. Okay, Sammy, let's get into the meat of things. Is we're going to talk about a tale of two cities. Okay, your Vancouver Canucks, my Edmonton Oilers. Last year, quite the opposite end of the spectrum. Your Vancouver Canucks were not very well. My Edmonton Oilers were chasing Stanley Cup and had Stanley Cup aspirations, and going into the season had that as well. They currently have the two best players in the world, arguably, and they are struggling. Today, the floodgates opened a little bit, but we are now, their record, what would be? Would be,
6-12-1, I think.
yes. No, 6-12. Is it one or two? Six.
Or
Well,
six
regardless.
twelve and 2, something like that. Not great.
Regardless. Regardless. As of yesterday, now they won today, so I don't know where they are, but as of yesterday, when I did Lube, they were 10 points out of a wild card spot. That is not good. For a team that has the two best players in the world. It's been just a dismal effort. They fired their coach. They brought in a new coach. They're getting the same result. Uh, McDavid and Draisaitl have just dried right up. The power play is garbage. So much is going wrong with the Oilers. So bad so that in the last game prior to today, I gotta always refer to not today's game, but the last game on the warm up, Darnell Nurse inadvertently takes a puck to the head, right, from
Yeah.
Philip Broberg hitting the crossbar, hits Darnell Nurse, hits him right dead in the top of the bridge of his nose, gives him stitches, and it looks like he busted his nose on the play. Stuart Skinner wipes out on the ice. It's comical. It's
It was really funny.
it's like, how could this be happening right now, Sammy? How could this be
I,
happening? Your take on the Oilers, and then we're going to get into the Canucks.
yeah, I don't know. That honestly, I think those two blunders are kind of just the epitome of the Oilers season, just in general, to be honest. Like, just that kind of luck, right? Just in practice, well, not even practice, warm ups, just a freak puck to the head. Um, and yeah, like you can see his nostrils were stuffed with whatever to try and keep him from bleeding everywhere, and he had bandages on his eye there, and then Stuart Skinner just wiping out just by trying to stop at the center line and just spinning out of control into the opposing zone was just, it was comical.
I
And
was
really, like it is, it's the epitome of what their season has been. It's
exactly,
been
and
bad. The season's been abysmal. Nobody's played well. Honestly, from the games that I've watched, I've honestly thought that Derek Ryan has been their best player all year, and that's just I don't know. It's not been good.
yeah, uh, yeah. I wouldn't say Derek Ryan. I would say Evander Kane has been, in my personal opinion. Um,
Okay, sure.
yeah, um, yeah. When that happened yesterday, I'm like, oh my god! Like the first thing that came to mind is the movie The Bad News Bears. I don't know. This is going back way back when, but it's about a team of kids that were so horrible softball or fastball players. That's it's just like I laughed to myself. I'm like, are you kidding me? Is this really
Yeah,
like I'm pinching myself like, is this really freaking happening?
yeah. It's bad.
And then in the meantime, on your side of things, the Vancouver Canucks are freaking amazing this year. What the hell happened there? They didn't really make any offseason moves that is it getting rid of Ekman Larson the key to that team? What?
For I think getting rid of some dead weight, like maybe I shouldn't say dead weight, but a big cap hit like that for Ekman Larson, it just wasn't working for both parties. Ekman Larson just wasn't playing well in Vancouver, and I don't know if that was just dragging the team down, or at least the cap hit was dragging the team down. It just wasn't working. It was not helping. He's been good in Florida. He actually has been really good in Florida, and I'm happy for him that he has found a spot and a team that seemingly is a good fit for him. And I'm happy for him that he's doing well and seemingly thriving in Florida. That's awesome because the Panthers are also a really good team so far this year. Vancouver has used that cap space to go out and sign guys like Teddy Bluger on the bottom pair, or the bottom line, Carson Soucy, Ian Cole, and to trade for Pius Suter, Sam Lafferty, opening up some roster space and some cap space to bring in some other guys to provide some more depth, some more grit. What's been really good to start the season as well is Ilya Mikheyev is healthy. He's been able to come back in for not the Rockets, the Canucks, and he's been able to step in and he's been great on that top line with Pedersen and Kuzmenko. It's been great. That second line of Miller, Besser, and Di Giuseppe has been also stellar. Arguably, early on in the season, has been two of the best lines in all of the National Hockey League. The bottom six has rotated through a fair amount, but for most part, it's been really solid defensively. And our top six defense have been honestly has been way better than I would have expected. Philip Hronek is one of the highest producing defensemen in the NHL right now, alongside with Quinn Hughes, who's not just the highest performing defenseman in the league, but is the highest performing player in the NHL currently,
Yeah.
um, which is just mind blowing. Thatcher Demko is one of the top goalies in the NHL right now, as well, leading the way in a number of statistical categories. Um, just everything currently is going right for Vancouver. Their power play's been good. Their penalty kill could be better, but it's not terrible. Just everything's been going right for them. Now they've lost, I think, 3 of their last 5. So and in those games they've lost, they haven't looked fantastic. They do play Seattle tonight. They lost to Seattle a few days ago, 4-3. Tonight will be a test, I think, of whether or not they can bounce back. And good teams go through adversity. Um, if you really are a good team, you can weather that storm and you can pick up and you can keep going and go back on the run that they have been. Now Vancouver, again, they've lost 3 of their last 5. If they lose to Seattle tonight, I'm going to start to worry a little bit. If they beat Seattle tonight, they play San Jose again Saturday, well, which is tomorrow. They play San Jose tomorrow. So, hopefully we can get a back-to-back win here. It would be awesome. But yeah, I don't know. Again, it's still like it's like a quarter of the way into the season. Things look great for them. I'm really happy with how the season's gone so far. Like you said, it's American Thanksgiving. 80% of teams, or whatever it is, somewhere between 77 and like 85, somewhere in that range of percent of teams make the playoffs that are in a playoff spot at that time. I really hope Vancouver's one of those teams. In a weak Pacific Division, I don't see why they can't be. Considering Anaheim has stepped back, San Jose had been stepping up, but now they've kind of leveled out a little bit. Edmonton looked like they can get back into it, but now they've dropped right back out again. Calgary is slowly creeping in. So who knows? Um, but just with how that division is, I don't see any reason why Vancouver can't have a divisional spot and at the very least be a wild card team. Um,
Now
the Western Conference, just in general, has just been a crapshoot. But either way,
the
I'm
only
happy.
thing I the only thing I did hear that may raise a bit of concern for you is I was watching something on YouTube and they were saying that Vancouver, out of all 32 teams, had the easiest start to a season, like the easiest schedule. I don't agree with that because they had Edmonton 3 times, and Edmonton wasn't supposed to be an easy team.
No, and we've played Florida, who we beat. We played
Yeah,
Tampa, who we lost
yeah,
to, but it
yeah.
was all right.
So we'll,
We've played Colorado, which again we lost to Colorado, but it was a tight game. It was what the game against Colorado was one of those games where it was tied going into the third period, and you knew whoever scored next was winning that game. Like
yeah.
it was one of those games. Um, yeah, we've played San Jose after tomorrow 3 times. We played Seattle a couple times, but Seattle's supposed to be a good team too. Um, we've played good teams and we've played some not so great teams. It's just kind of how it is. And I watching, I think it was the hockey guy a few days ago. He also mentioned that about easiest schedule, and he's like, I don't believe there is such thing as an easy schedule in the NHL anymore, and I don't. I also don't believe that there is. I mean, yeah, again, maybe you look at teams like San Jose, Chicago, Columbus, who are just bad, um, but also maybe their divisions are better, and so the opponents they're playing are just that good. I don't know. It's just the way the parity is in the NHL. Any team can steal a game on any given night. That's
We're
just how
finding
it is.
that out. We're finding that out tenfold this year. Boston,
Yeah,
another
exactly.
surprise. Oilers, a huge surprise of where they are.
Yeah,
Vancouver,
exactly. It's just something that any team can win a game on any given night.
yeah.
And so maybe their schedule looks easier on paper, sure, given their opponents' records, but I don't think there's such thing as an easy game in the National Hockey League anymore. I don't think that's a thing.
Well, the one thing, Sammy, is if the Oilers make the playoffs, if they somehow pull this off and pull the rabbit out of the hat and make the playoffs this year, I am seriously going to look back at this date and that 5-0 shutout win against Washington as
Yep, could be a turning point. You
a
never
bit
know.
of a change. Yeah.
You never know.
Oh, okay, Sammy. So, a former Edmonton Oiler. I jumped 2 spots there. Oh, okay, hang on 1 second. Graphic issues. Okay, well, I guess that one's not going to come up. Anyway, a former Edmonton Oiler by the name of Taylor Hall is now out for the season. Apparently, this is an injury that occurred early in the season,
Mhm.
and it wasn't enough to really keep him out. But at practice, he hit a rut in the ice, and his ACL got torn. He's done for the year. Chicago really doesn't have aspirations of making the playoffs, despite Berard being on a record pace and doing some amazing stuff. Uh, this is just a team that's not. So if you're going to have a team fail, this is the time to have it fail. Plus, they're trying to get some information out of that team because they've been holding off Perry from practices and from games to
Yeah.
stretches, and Mrazek, and a lot of talk on Edmonton radio and on other YouTubers that do the Edmonton Oilers are saying that if you're connecting the dots, like there's nothing that they can actually say that it's legit, but they're connecting the dots and thinking that this could be a trade going to Edmonton, Perry, Mrazek for Campbell, because they can eat up Campbell's cap space. Obviously, Chicago's probably going to get a little bit more in return. They're still probably working out the fine details. But I think, regardless, even if it's not with Edmonton, there's something in the works with Chicago with a trade coming up. To who I don't know. Unless it just it doesn't make sense that Mrazek. I was thinking maybe Perry's just disgruntled from being scratched the other night, and he's being a little upset. But I think there's something brewing. I think so, and I said this to my guys at work. There's some Oilers are going to do something this weekend, something significant this weekend, and we'll see what happens. I do think a trade is coming this weekend. I think tomorrow we're going to see a trade. or Sunday. I think because it's Thanksgiving, it's not happening today. But I think tomorrow we're going to find out. I think the Oilers are going to make a trade of some sort. They need a goalie. They need a goalie. Yes, Skinner got a shutout today, but are you going to bank the rest of the season on this one game? I don't think so.
Yeah, but do you want to put your hopes in Peter Mrazek either?
Right
He's not.
now,
He's not. He's not. Like
no.
he's been good in Chicago, sure, so far this year, but he is not much better than Skinner or Campbell. He's not.
Oh, I
Adding Corey
disagree with
Perry
that.
to that team gives a little bit of extra grit to that. But honestly, like sure, let's say Mrazek is miles ahead of Skinner or Campbell. Sure, let's entertain that
Campbell,
idea.
yes. Skinner, maybe not, but Campbell, yes, because Campbell's only getting like he has something like a 423 goals against average in the American League. He has like an 818 save percentage in the American League. He's the backup goalie in the American League.
Yeah,
Backup.
I mean, I think personally with Jack Campbell, he's going through something. I don't think he's a bad goalie. I just think he's going through something right now. It happens. It happens to goalies
Yeah.
sometimes. It
Yeah.
happens to anybody. It just
Yeah.
happens. But
Yeah.
let's entertain the idea that Mrazek is much better. I don't think any goalie that is even way better than what they currently have stepping into that team is going to steal you that many more wins. It might
Yeah.
steal you a couple more, but behind the defensive core that the Edmonton Oilers have right now, it's not going to do much. It's
No.
not. And
No.
honestly, until your top players like Draisaitl and McDavid play two-way games and penalty kill and play defensively, you're not going to do anything.
Well, I'm not going to lay it on those guys. I know they are the superstars and they are the core of the team, but realistically, when you're paying, and I did this on Lubed yesterday, that when you're paying 9.25 for Darnell and you're paying, I forgot what it was with Evan, something in the fours, maybe fives. I mean, Jesus, man, like you got way too much money tied up. I did actually, my episode yesterday was dealing with all the cap money and what they have on the books for next year. They still have James Neal on the books for next year. Like, I mean, they're in cap hell right now. They are, and then we got Darnell Nurse, and I had to kind of rub my eyes, like, is this true? Like, we got him till 29-30 under contract. Like, it's a long time that we have him under contract
Yeah, good
at
luck with that.
9.225 million.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, the other big news going on. Now, I know I didn't go into the Taylor Hall thing, but we were actually supposed to talk about Milan Lucic, another former Edmonton Oiler that played in LA. His on his second stint in Boston. Looked pretty happy going back to Boston. Is allegedly he has been charged for assault for allegedly. I'm using that word very fluently because he's not convicted or he's not a criminal until convicted guilty by the court of law. For apparently assaulting his wife, apparently strangling his wife. I don't know all the fine details about it, but these are the alleged details that are coming out. He has taken a leave of absence from the Boston Bruins, and I honestly think this is going to be a hard one for him to bounce back for his career. It's not like he was lights out superstar that you have to get back. We saw what happened to Voynov when he was convicted of assaulting his wife or whatever, and I think they even deported him. Yeah, so it was an ugly situation there. I don't know what's going to happen with Milan Lucic, but I have a feeling we've seen the last of him. What are your thoughts?
I'm not going to say much. I think you said it all.
Yeah.
Innocent until proven guilty. It's an unfortunate situation. If true, even if not true or not totally accurate, still very unfortunate. I've always liked Luch, and I hope it isn't true for his sake, because that would tarnish, honestly, the
A
name of
very
really,
reputable
really
career.
of a quite a good reputation, one of the best power forwards of the last 20 years. It would
Hmm.
tarnish that reputation. So I hope it's not true, but if it is, then I hope he is punished as such.
He's one of, believe it or not, he's actually one of Connor McDavid's favorite players.
Yeah,
You
he had a
know,
good that first couple years he played with McDavid on the line. He was really good.
no, but even prior to Connor McDavid getting drafted by the Oilers, I think he was asked who are his favorite players. Obviously Sid, and then he said Luch. Like it kind of surprised me. I'm like, Luch, like really?
Hmm.
But yeah, he loved Luch. So it's unfortunate. I wish him and his family and his wife and everyone who's involved, all parties involved, I wish them all the best, and hopefully it comes out as a good thing and nothing bad out of it, and they move on from it. And you know, I don't know. It's tough. Unfortunately, Sammy, we have to talk the tough news sometimes, and that's one of those tough stories. So we'll see. All right, let's get into the stats and standings here. Okay, let's take a look at the Eastern Conference. This is, oh man. Eastern Conference with the Atlantic Division. You got the Boston Bruins, number one with 31 points. We're still kind of scratching our head about that one. 14 wins, 2 losses, 3 overtime losses. Florida Panthers, 19 games played, 12, 6, and 1. Toronto is next. Detroit, Tampa kind of falling off a little bit. Montreal's kind of where they should be. Buffalo and Ottawa tap out that division. Meanwhile, in the Metropolitan, you got the Rangers with 29. They're actually having a pretty good year. Washington with 22, which,
Rangers were doing excellent this year.
yeah, yes, they are. And Washington with 22, which when I looked at that and seeing Edmonton slaughter them today was like, what? I'm like, what? Like, this year is just, I don't understand this year. I'm going to actually watch that game because I was at work today when that game took place at noon. So I'm still got to watch that game and find out exactly what happened. Carolina, Philadelphia Islanders, Pittsburgh is kind of a surprise with only 18 points, but I guess that you know what I think that's it. I think that Pittsburgh Penguin team is done. It's old now. The Crosby era is over. I would say. I think next year you're going to see some movement there. You're going to see Letang gone probably, or I don't know. I think, and that's what Dubas does. The one thing, and he goes all in. He's kind of like a Ken Holland, goes all in, and I don't know. I think he made a big mistake by getting Carlson. Now but it's easy for me to say in hindsight, right? Now we're looking at where they are in the standings. Because when we did the episode in the summertime, I was like, "Ooh, they're gonna be
Yeah.
good," you know.
Well,
So
let's see. There's still plenty of runway left in the league or in the season, and not like they're that far behind. They're 4 points behind second place in their division. There isn't that big of a gap.
yeah, that's true. Let's look at the West there, Sam. Because you want to watch your Canucks game that's starting in half an hour here, so I got to try to belt this out through quickly. Dallas leading the Central with 26, Colorado with 24, Winnipeg with 24. Speaking of which, the head coach of Winnipeg came back and is now
Hmm.
with the team today, which is good to see. St. Louis 21, Nashville 18, Arizona 18, Minnesota 14, and Chicago with 12. In the Pacific, Golden Knights picked up where they went last year. 14, 4, and 2. They kind of tapered off a little bit. They came out of the gates flying, but since then they've kind of tapered off a little bit. LA with 27, Vancouver with 27. That puts a smile on your face. Hey, Sammy.
A little bit.
And I'll be watching that Canucks game too tonight, so you can always text me and if there's a nice goal, I'll say, yeah, that was a nice goal.
Yeah, I'm sure.
No, I will. I mean,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, I'm not going to turn into a Vancouver fan overnight, but I mean, you know, I know you're my buddy, and that's the team you support. So
Yep, for sure.
for that reason, that's the only I'll be cheering for them a little bit for that reason. But that's about it.
Sounds good.
You got Seattle, Anaheim, Calgary, Edmonton with 13 points. I still look at that number. I'm like, what? Like 19 games, 6 wins, 12 losses, Overtime loss. So you were right. It was one for them. And then San Jose at the bottom of the NHL with 8 points. Out of both conferences, Sammy, what is the biggest surprise now that we're at U.S. Thanksgiving?
Washington, for sure. There isn't really, honestly, anything in the Atlantic that is really surprising me. Um, I think maybe other than Buffalo being as low as they are, but overall, I don't think there's really anything in that division that's overly surprising. Metro, I'm surprised the Devils are that low. I thought for sure they'd be one of the top three. Hurricanes, I expected to be a little bit better as well. Obviously, the Penguins I expected to be better, and the Capitals I expected them to be far worse.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Tampa Bay, they have a pretty decent record right now. It could get better because Andrei Vasilevsky is playing tonight in his return to Tampa Bay, back to the lineup. He plays tonight. Um, so hopefully they didn't rush him back from injury. Hopefully he actually is healthy and ready to go. If that's the case, Tampa Bay, who knows? They could go on a heck of a run here now that they have arguably one of the best goaltenders ever in net for them now back. Um, the West, the Central Division isn't really surprising, to be honest. Minnesota being so low is surprising.
Yeah.
I was expecting them to be closer to I was expecting them to be about third or fourth in the division. Them
Mhm.
being so low, I expected St. Louis to be much lower. So that those two teams kind of swap them, and a little surprising. Arizona's holding strong. I think they're playing. They're a pretty entertaining team right now. I think they're doing good. The Pacific, obviously, you got to be surprised at Vancouver being so high and Edmonton being so low. I don't think anybody saw that coming. I certainly didn't. I expected Vancouver to be a playoff team this year, but I didn't expect them to be one of the top five teams in the NHL right now. I did not expect that at all. Um, yeah, that'd be about the that's those are my surprises. Anyway, those are my surprises.
So what is the contributing factor? Because they didn't really do much to on that team. Is this a Talkit thing, just getting them in the right direction?
I think they have. I loved Bruce Boudreau, and don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I loved that man. There's only been three times I've ever cried watching an NHL game. One was when Vancouver lost to Boston. Two was when Vancouver lost to Calgary in 2015 in Game Six because I really thought we were the better team and that we could have taken out Anaheim in the second round. And the third time was Boudreau's last game against the Oilers when we lost, and everyone knew that win or lose, he was gone at the end of that game.
Mhm.
And Vancouver wanted to get him that win so bad. And the Oilers, even Edmonton, like there were guys on that team afterwards who were like, honestly, we kind of wanted them to beat us. But at the same time, 2 points are 2 points, right? So they
Yeah,
weren't just going to throw the game away.
yeah,
But watching Boudreau at the end of that game in tears and being able to say goodbye to the arena, like I was in tears watching that.
yeah.
Like that was a lot. Um, but Boudreau wasn't super systematic in
Hmm.
his coaching. Other people might disagree with me, but general consensus from not just my opinion, but from other people I've talked to and other analysts and things I've read and listened to, a lot of people have mentioned how he's not super systematic. He lets his players kind of do their thing. He lets his star players do their thing. He lets their big names do their thing, or just lets the role players play their role. Right? He isn't super hands on. He'll get in the room and do a good speech, but he isn't super hands on. He kind of just lets the team do what they do.
Hmm.
Rick Tocchet is much more of a voice in there. He's much more systematic. He has brought in his systems. He has bag skated the crap out of those guys, and he has really just pounded into their head the basics. And he
Yeah,
said that a lot all season and all training camp, all off season. He was like, "We're going back to the basics. We're getting the basics done. We're drilling those into these guys' heads, and we're going from there. And if
yeah,
the basics don't work, then we're starting like literally from ground zero and just going from the basic fundamentals and up if that's not working. And we're just going to start as low as we have to just build the confidence in the team back up. Seems so far that's worked. Those fundamentals and those basics have worked, so they're stepping it up a little bit. Hopefully they can continue just to step up their game and amp up their game. But guys like Pedersen, who has arguably been one of the best two-way forwards in the league this year, has been fantastic. JT Miller as well has been honestly a great power forward. He's been fantastic. He's been the contract that he signed so far. He's living up to it. his big $8.5 million deal. He's living up to it. Quinn Hughes is arguably the best defenseman and player just in the entire National Hockey League at the moment. He's been fantastic. And Demko, he just like the team just in general, everyone's just stepped it up. And like you said before, it's not like they made monumental changes in the offseason. They brought in a couple defensemen that I think helped really shore up that top six, and they brought in a couple forwards to help shore up their bottom six for forwards. And they've had an actual proper offseason and training camp for the coaching staff to develop and work with the team,
Mm-hmm.
which I think has built relationships, built rapport, and allowed them to um, cohesively work together to form this unit and to just go out there and play and do their jobs. So far, it's working great. Hopefully, it continues to work well. I would love for nothing more than to watch my team in the playoffs again.
Yeah.
I didn't even watch the 2020 playoffs. I wasn't able to, so I didn't see the playoffs at all. So I haven't watched Vancouver in the playoffs in, if they make it in 2024, 9 years.
Oof.
Like, it's been a long time, and
And
so
I
I'm
think
itching for some Canuck playoff hockey. So
getting back to what you're saying with talking bag skating them, that is something that he can use in his utility belt because he still is relatively a new coach. If
yep,
he's a coach already 3 years into it and start bag skating, all of a sudden the Pedersen start complaining, demand a trade, all this kind of stuff. That's where it's hard to, right? Like that's what I wish Knobloch would do with the Oilers is maybe start bag skating them and really, like, come on, guys, let's get it together. Let's figure it out. But again, they had a good effort today. We will see what happens, what goes on. Let's uh let's take a look at some of the stats here. And this graphic is a little bit out. I'm gonna actually put that at the very top here. So right now our pictures are kind of covering all the information we need. Okay. So for points, oops, what did I do here? For points, uh, Quinn Hughes, 31 points. Your boy Quinn. 20
captain.
games played, 8 goals, and 23 assists. This is a D man leading the league in points. That's unheard of. JT Miller, number 2, with 13 goals, 17 assists. Nikita Kucherov is in third, Pasternak in fourth, Cale Makar in fifth, Elias Pettersson, the third Vancouver Canucks, rounding out the top 10. William Niedliner, Itinerary Panarin, Sam Reinhart. No Edmonton Oilers in there. No Edmonton Oilers for a ways. That's really, really crazy.
Yeah,
Uh,
who would have thought that even a quarter of the way into the season, you'd have three Canucks in the top 10, let alone two of them leading the league right now, and no Oiler.
yeah, that's crazy. When it comes to the goaltenders, Jonathan Quick still leading with the save percentage of a 940. He's tied with Charlie Lindgren of Washington. Semyon Varlamov is at 934. I'm just going to quickly go over this because it is actually covering our images. Like I say, I kind of rushed through the graphics on this episode. Jeremy Swayman, 933. Aiden Hill, 932. Linus Allmark, 932. Cam Talbot, a former Oiler boy. I bet you the Oilers would love to have him right
He's
now.
been so good. I watched the Anaheim
Yeah.
LA game today, and he's fantastic right now.
930. Demko rounding out the top 10 there with a what is it? 923.
923.
Gibson 921. And then Logan Thompson there, the second Vegas Golden Knight goaltender to be in the top 10 with a 920. When it comes to the plus minus, Cale Makar, a plus 16. Quinn Hughes, a plus 15. Barkov, 14. Marcus Pettersson of Pittsburgh, 13. Devin Taves, 12. Brandon McNabb, 12. Now, I don't know, like, that's a stat that a lot of people don't necessarily care for. I think that's a very valid stat because it it just depends. It all depends on the thing. Like if you're just coming off the ice and they score, you're getting dinged for that plus minus. That's the only thing, right? So there's some things about it that are not quite right, but I've actually been a fan of plus minus. I know I got buddies that aren't. And then when you see like a guy like Cale Makar leading it, that makes sense. Cale Makar is an elite defenseman. It makes a lot of sense, and especially the amount of like he's got 29 points. He's right up there for like the defense are just kicking ass this year in the league. Like it's crazy that we are seeing these kind of numbers at U.S. Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Anyway, Sam, we're gonna move on, and I've added a new element onto the channel here. And it's something that I added into Lubed, and I'm going to do it on this one, but it's a public poll. You guys can go directly with that QR code that's on the screen, and it will take you directly to the poll, or you can go to our YouTube site and do it the manual way. But basically, on every episode, I'm going to ask a question. This week's question is, what is the biggest surprise you've seen this season? The rise of the Vancouver Canucks, the fall of the Edmonton Oilers, Bruins still a massive presence despite the holes in the middle, or something else, none of the above. So feel free to vote away. We definitely would like to see how these results come in. Other than that, Sammy, I think we got ourselves an episode. You got a hockey game to watch in about 15 minutes. And we tripped on long enough, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's get this one wrapped up and on our way. A few hiccups with the graphics here. Like I say, guys, I was rushing, and one thing I noticed as we were doing this, the icon came up as the lubed icon on that. I do apologize, Sammy. This is NHL Aftermath, so a little bit of a correction. I was rushing to get these graphics done because I know you wanted to get this game done, and I kind of missed that, but oh well. Que sera, sera. No harm, no foul.
Let's get out of here and enjoy some hockey, eh?
Let's get out of here. So send us on our way, Sammy.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in, watching. Those who may be on right now or maybe later. We're just two guys who enjoy watching and talking about hockey. So if you like this content, feel free to join us along for the ride. Hit like, comment, subscribe. And hopefully, we'll talk to you later.
You betcha, guys. Have a good one, and we will try to be on next week. It all depends on our schedules, but take care. Have a good one. Enjoy your U.S. Thanksgiving, guys in the U.S. that are watching this, and go Canucks, go! Can't believe I'm saying that. All right, Sammy. Have a good one.
You too, buddy.